My fiance of 5 years just requested we open the relationship, and that request sent me spiraling. This situation is just so strange and uncomfortable, and wherever I turn to support, I always get brushed off with, "It's not a big deal," or, "Well, he just asked," and I lack any real support or validation. I can't go to my parents, so I'm hoping a bunch of strangers on Reddit might offer more help than my social circle did so far. I, female 28, and my fiancé John, male 28, have been together for, as the title says, about 5 years. To understand the dilemma, I need to give you some background. We both came from very religious backgrounds, though it affected both of us very differently. John became a problem child, running away, causing problems, and eventually finding a crowd his parents would not approve of. Most of the members of this group were a part of the Queer Plus, smoked pot, engaged in protests, and were either atheist or practiced different religion. Although some of the members since have left, this crowd became his current friend group. I won't go into details about each and every one of them, but the main ringleaders are Alex, 35NB, and Avery, 33M. From what I understand, they collected damaged people, as John jokingly said one day, and let them couch surf when things got rough. Alex is some sort of a Nepo baby, and Avery works in IT, or something like that. John met them when he was 15. At first, I thought they seemed very cool, and couldn't wait to meet them, since John equated their relationship to that of a child and a parent, so clearly very important people in his life. But when I finally met them, when we were 21, and in college and home for the summer break, the meeting left me a bit disillusioned. Alex was catty and had snide remarks, since I wasn't queer plus or anything, at most bi-curious, and Avery treated me like a child, but John said they always need to break new people in. So I tried to think positive and did my best to impress them with what I was studying and what my plans for the future are, both regarding me personally and my relationship. But the more I talked, the more they seemed to disapprove of me. Despite the strange meeting, John seemed ecstatic to see them again and gushed about how much they liked me, so I kept my mouth shut and just nodded along. Now, to understand a bit deeper on who Alex and Avery are, in the town they live in, they're something like local celebrities, very spiritual. Their home is full of souvenirs they accumulated over all their travels, are also married, but their definition of marriage is very different from the traditional one. Apparently, they went to some tropical state and took some hallucinogens together, and in their state, they proclaimed everlasting love for one another. Quite a wild concept for someone like me, but I learned to be more open-minded since I left for college. That being said, they also said that they can see auras, whatever that is, and apparently love my fiancés. I don't know what they think of mine, but it probably isn't much. Which brings us to the topic I came here with. Last week, after we got home from work, John sat me down and asked me what I think about being in a polygamous relationship. He said he loves me so much, more than is possible, and doesn't know what to do with the rest of it, thinking that it's fair to give it to someone else. I, on the other hand, don't have a limit on how much I can love him, so I said no, and that was that. However, the question has been plaguing my mind ever since. If you knew John just a fraction, you'd know he researches about things long before he actually commits to anything, any lifestyle or relationship changes, whatever. This makes me think that he has already thought about it for a while, and that he also consulted Alex and/or Avery about this. I don't want to villainize them, but I know for a fact they're not in a monogamous relationship, and they clearly don't like me as the rest of their little group. Again, I don't want to point fingers, and I won't ask John to show me his messages with them unless I have solid proof that isn't just a gut feeling, but I just have this horrible feeling that they somehow pulled in John. There's no way he just thought about it suddenly on his own. 5 years of relationship, and the idea of non-monogamy was never brought up, and now suddenly, just as we're about to be married, he brings this up? I don't buy it one bit, but I can't just go ahead and confront them now, can I? I just don't know what to do. I feel stuck. At home, I pretend everything is fine since my group of close friends told me that I'm just overthinking, and I believed it for a while. But whenever I look at John, all I can think of is, He thinks there's a cap on how much he can love me, and he wants to love someone else. I want to deal with this, but I don't know how. If I bring it up with John, he'll just brush it off as well, or he'll think I'm cheating or don't trust his friends. I worked hard to get their approval, and I know for a fact John shares everything with them. He wouldn't keep this for himself. I just hope that someone here can give me pointers on how to proceed. Thanks. Now for a few comments. First commenter said, "If you don't swing that way, then end it. It'll only get worse once you're married. This is not something you can compromise on. He wants to frick other people while you do not." Then OP replied, "God, the idea of ending our relationship is so scary. I feel like I built my entire life since leaving for college around him, and if we separate, I worried I'm going to fall apart. But I understand where you're coming from. I need more time to process the reality of it all." Another commenter added, "Don't let them brainwash you. There are plenty of cases where people are pulled into someone else's lifestyle and then randomly dropped. It will leave you wondering who you even are. I've been there and it ruined me. What happens if you drink the Kool-Aid and they reject you later? It's hard to come back from that. And I'm not saying this as a matter based solely on intimacy preference either. New age mumbo-jumbo or auras mixed with radical changes in intimacy interest can really frick a person up. A lot of people like this function almost like a give mind or the popular clique in high school. If you already feel like you're being pushed away from the group and now he's making this request, it's a bad sign. Also, the idea of him having so much love that it's unfair to only give it to you is a horrible cop-out and a very common excuse people use when trying to convince they're so to try poly or open. It's often used to guilt people. It's almost like he's suggesting that you are greedy for wanting to keep your relationship personal and exclusive. I just say be careful. I don't want you to end up hurt like I was. Dedicating yourself to one person while their character and lifestyle is completely changing can end up with you getting hurt bad. If he is sincerely changing in this way, I'd be worried about how much you invest in him. I only say this because I was fully invested in my ex, and she started hanging out with a group of college friends more frequently towards the end. One day we got into a small argument over parking, and it ended with her saying she wasn't certain what intimacy she was attracted to anymore, and wasn't sure if she was even female anymore, and that we had to end things. Now, I would have been fine with helping them figure themselves out, but for her, it kind of just became her excuse to break up with me. I think it was more about them wanting to have fun and was influenced by her group of friends, all being single or experimenting, who all came out around the same time. I think she saw them having fun and felt FOMO, to be a. So to her, she was getting her chance to catch up on fun she may have missed out on being in a relationship. To me, it was losing a piece of myself that I invested years of love into. Now for a few comments. I'm really sorry you had to go through that. I really hope John isn't using this as a maneuvering tactic to get out of the relationship or a chance to catch up. It doesn't sound like him, but I'll keep this in mind. Thank you so much for all the nice replies and genuine advice you've offered. Not to sound cliche, but I didn't expect over 100 comments and some nice DMs. I'm sorry I didn't respond much. The whole situation was kind of emotionally draining. I figured I'd update when something major happens, and I think this is it. But before I get ahead of myself, let me fill in some blanks in my story. Me and John came from similar backgrounds, but my family was a bit less strict, allowing me to go to college since I had great grades. The plan for me was to move back after getting a degree, finding a job, a husband, and living the traditional life, which obviously didn't happen because I met John, who literally changed the trajectory of my life. After a year, I switched from my first major to one I liked more, and it's been a while since I contacted my parents. They didn't approve, of course, but with John's help, I didn't give in to their demands to come back. Now they know I'm getting married and are invited, but the last time we spoke was about 2 months ago. John has completely no contact with his parents since 18. I didn't talk about the friend group in more detail at first, since I didn't think they were that important, but they do like me. At first, they were obviously a bit unsure, since to them, I was a cishet white passing woman, but they warm up to me and I'm proud to call them my friends. The only people who didn't fully accept me are Avery and Alex, and since me and John got together officially, they tend to call me the wife in this strange, almost derogatory manner. It's not an important detail, but it gets on my nerves. Lastly, John is aware that opening up the relationship would lead to me being intimate, physically or emotionally, with other people. But he said it's a great chance for me to explore my bi side, though I haven't expressed the desire to really be with a woman in a committed relationship of that magnitude. On to what happened. I shot a message to John 2 days ago that we need to talk. He works from home. I don't, so as soon as I got home, we sat down to have an in-depth conversation about his proposal. I think he knew what it's going to be about, and I had the feeling he seemed almost guilty. But I ignored that and basically word vomited everything that's been on my mind. This is embarrassing because I wrote down most of what the comments advised and was prepared to have a mature discussion. But by the end of my easily 15-minute rant, I was in tears and he had to hold me. Otherwise, I'd crumble completely. The gist of what I said is that I'm hurt that he wants to frick other people and that he doesn't care that I'd frick other people too. That he believes there's a limit to how much he can love me and that I can't see where this all came from. That he just sprung this on me out of nowhere just a few months before we're to be wed. We tried to have a mature discussion, yes, but by the end, he was frustrated. He did apologize for making me feel less than, but said that my outlook on an open relationship is selfish. What it all boiled down to was that he feels he didn't have enough time to find himself before he committed to me, which is nonsense because he didn't show any signs of wanting more than I could offer. We were very happy throughout the 5 years. I really believed I met my soulmate. I realized that since we were engaged, he seemed to talk more to his friend group, and by extension, to Avery and Alex. Again, I don't want to paint them as these cartoonish villains. They're really interesting and all, but now I want nothing more than to scratch those self-absorbed, smug smiles off their faces. In the end, I demanded to see his phone, and he was shocked. We had a rule that we can see each other's phones, but we don't share passwords or anything, since relationship is built on trust, and neither wanted to be a prison guard in the relationship. Nevertheless, he unlocked and handed over his phone, and I searched his messages, even deleted ones, and found nothing out of the ordinary. Then I checked the call log, and guess freaking what? Hours-long calls to and from either Avery or Alex. I was fuming, and asked him what the hell does he need to discuss with them this long, and mind you, these dated months back. John eventually caved in and admitted it was them who brought up the idea of open relationship, but they also talked about everything else, since they're such a role models. John admitted that he started getting cold feet a while ago and needed a safe place to discuss this. I guess I, his wife-to-be, am not safe? Please make it make sense. Why even marry me then? He promised we'd go to a couples counselor and fix all of this, his issues with marriage, the open relationship thing, the whole 9 yards, and that he'd book an emergency session with his therapist, that he loves me and wants nothing but to be with me. It was late, so we went to bed. Despite how messy this all sounds, I was a bit more reassured by this. I genuinely love him, even if my post doesn't reflect that very well. Though many people said to just leave, I want that to be the last resort. I was willing to jump through hoops to make this work. But guess who's the idiot? This morning, I woke up to an empty apartment and a message on my phone from John saying that he needs a few days to think this all over and needs space. He didn't say where he was going or when he'd come back. I called and messaged everyone I know, but no one can tell me where John is. I told him that he either comes back home in 24 hours or this is over. As you can imagine, I'm a wreck. I took the rest of the week off, and between crying sessions and staring blankly into the wall, I obsessively check my messages in hopes of someone telling me where John is. To be honest, if he's willing to put me through this, I'm not sure I want to be with him. How can you do this to someone you love? Am I the idiot for getting angry at my husband for getting sick and ruining our future plans? I'm truly at a loss here. This situation has gotten worrying, and I don't know what to do with it. Since about a week, my husband became convinced I'm pregnant. I have no idea why, because I'm not. We haven't even started trying, though we do have plans in the future. We were just making conversation, and yeah, I did mention feeling tired, but that's all. A few hours later, he just came in so excited. I told him I'm not, but he won't let it go. He has made remarks about how happy he is, what a wonderful mother I'll be, what our baby will be like. Not all the time, but it has come up multiple times a day. I told him I'm not. I even took a test because even I started wondering, and it was undoubtedly negative. I showed him, and he just got annoyed, said tests can be wrong. He didn't speak to me for the rest of the evening. The next morning, he acted as if nothing happened. When I tell him I'm not, he just kind of shuts me out. I lost my shoot yesterday when we were in bed, and he put his hand on my stomach, told him he's acting crazy. I'm not pregnant, and his behavior is scaring me. He went to sleep in the guest room after that and left for work early in the morning. I haven't seen him or spoken to him today. I'm just at a loss. I don't know where this obsession is coming from. I even asked him if I gained weight, if that's what's gotten him confused. He assured me I didn't. I'm thinking of contacting his parents, or maybe a therapist or something. I honestly don't understand what's happening, and I'm worried about my husband. Edit. Thank you for all the replies. I didn't expect all this. It's been overwhelming, and I'm incredibly grateful. He's asleep next to me right now, and I keep going through all the comments. My husband is one of the kindest people I've ever met. I promise you all that he's not trying to manipulate me or would do anything to harm me, but that does make me believe something is really wrong. I'll contact Maya and his parents in the morning once he's left for work. Maybe go stay with my mom for a bit, though I hate the idea of leaving him like this. I also definitely will make an appointment with my doctor for a blood test. Thank you for all the advice. Now for a few important comments. Oof, this reply hit me hard. I appreciate it a lot. I'm very torn. I love my husband very much and am worried about him right now, but I feel increasingly uncomfortable at home as well. I'll try to do that. It just feels like such a weird response to wanting a child. Fair. It is very unlike him. I might call my mom, ask her if I can stay with them for a bit, if only to get all of this sorted. I just want him to snap out of it. I miss my husband as I know him. I hadn't even thought of that. Sorry. Thanks for your reply. Oh my, that's wild. Either way, I'll meet with my gyno, if only to have some conclusive proof that I'm not. Things escalated yesterday, but I'm with my mom and his parents are at our place. Hi everyone. I hope it's okay I post this update. I really appreciate everyone asking if I'm safe, and I am. I wish I could give clear answers, but I can't. Things escalated when I tried to speak to him, keeping some of y'all's advice in mind. I sat him down and explained to him that I'd love to have kids with him in the future, but that I'm not pregnant right now, and that his insistence worries and scares me. I told him we could go to the doctor together if that would put his mind at ease, or I could take another test in front of him. I was just hoping to snap him out of it somehow. He got very agitated, said many hurtful things, and accused me of being a liar many times, that I'm trying to keep our baby away from him, and so on. Nothing made sense, and I wasn't feeling safe anymore. I knew my husband would never harm me in any way, but that wasn't my husband. Things got worse. He did hurt me, but nothing permanent or even emergency care worthy. I also know that if he was in his right mind, he never would have done anything like this. I called mine and his parents, and I'm now staying with my mom. He did seem to calm down a bit when his parents arrived. I haven't spoken to him since then. His mother, she's an angel, is keeping me posted about everything. We all agree something is very off about him, and we don't know what it is, but he hasn't agreed to getting himself checked out in any way. I don't know how they'll go about it, but they say, and I painfully have to agree, that it's best to keep my distance for a bit, as most of it is aimed at me. I'm safe, so is he. I miss him so much and just want an answer as to why he's being like this. I keep trying to figure out if there were signs before or what I did wrong. Thank you all for the replies. They were a great help. It's so kind you cared to ask if I'm safe. Now for a few important comments. Let's pray it's not drugs, since he refuses to get checked out. I'm so sorry, OP. I hope everything gets better soon. I don't know if going back to him is a good idea, though. He physically hurt you. I do think that whatever is causing this is the reason he hurt. We've been together for some years now, and he's never even raised his voice at me up until this. Thanks. I've been reading all the comments. You guys are all so kind to me. But I'm scared shitless about what it could be, reading everyone's experience. He has apparently agreed to get himself checked out, but I haven't heard anything else. He's in the hospital. Many people were right about it being a medical issue. I'll get more into it at some point, maybe. But first, need to see what's going to happen with him. I've seen him a couple of times. Sometimes he's his normal self, sometimes he can't stand the sight of me. We're managing somehow. I don't know if anyone will see this here, but you've all been so kind to keep asking whether or not we're okay. I hope I'll reach you like this. I'm going to keep this short. My husband has a brain tumor. A lot of people commented this, and I feel an immense amount of guilt that I hadn't considered it till then. All the headaches and other symptoms, in hindsight, we had previously dismissed because of his stressful work situation and so on. I'm beating myself up that I hadn't seen it before. A wonderful team of neurosurgeons, oncologists, and other physicians is figuring out the best approach here if there is one. We'll hear more in the next days. I've spent more time with my husband. Some moments he's his amazing self, others he's filled with anger. It's difficult, but we're managing. I wouldn't have been able to without the support of our friends and family. I love my husband. This situation is terrifying. In moments of clarity, he's trying to make me laugh. So I don't worry. That's who he is. Thank you everyone for pushing me to get him checked out. Now for a few important comments. Ope clarifies, I'm home now, but my husband's in the hospital. In his moments of clarity, does he recognize how he's been acting, or is there always some level of reality distortion? He seems mostly very confused, if that makes any sense. He has apologized, but his mind is just not working with him right now. OP, this is not the first time I've seen a thread on Reddit where a brain tumor caused significant behavior changes. I hope the surgeons are able to remove it, and your husband's previous personality comes back. Have the doctors given you any info on what to expect after the tumor has been removed? Right now, it's the question if it can be removed. There's a lot we don't know right now. The doctors/nurses have been incredibly kind, though. Now for the 3-week update. I can't say these feelings out loud, not to the people around me, so I hope it's okay. I do it here. But I'm furious with my husband for getting sick. I know he's not to blame. I know he's suffering, yet I'm still furious with him. I can't explain it. He's the love of my life. How dare he get sick? How dare he change anything about the wonderful life we have planned? How dare he leave me so much sooner than when we're old and senile? 2 months ago, our life was perfect. How could everything get so horrible so fast? I love him so much, it hurts. And because of that, I'm so angry with him right now. I feel like a horrible person. Now for the 6-week update. It's 2 a.m. here, so I apologize if this is not coherent. I'm going to step away from all social media, and I wanted to leave you with a brutally honest update. It's silly, but y'all's support has meant a lot to me. Don't get me wrong, I have wonderful family and friends, but in a way I have to comfort them too, and I can't deal with it right now. My husband is dying. In the 5 weeks since his diagnosis, he's gotten worse quickly. Today, the decision has been made not to continue treatment or even properly start it. He's not strong enough. He has a month, maybe. If we're lucky, I'm furious at the world right now, and I'm furious at him, which makes me an enormous witch, because what kind of person is angry at their husband for being ill? I love him so much, and I hate him for it. I'm sorry this isn't a better update. Wish you all the best. Now for a few comments. Top commenter, freaking hell, I'm so sorry. I remember hoping it was schizophrenia and not a tumor. I'm still kind of hoping this is someone's creative writing venture, but I'm still freaking devastated for you. I know tears from a stranger on the internet aren't really a comfort, but they're still falling for you. I lost my little sister a few years ago. I love her so much. She was my world. I was like a half parent to her. I was planning my life on having her live with me. and after the very quick progression of an unknown illness, she was gone. I still can only imagine what you're going through. I'm so sorry. I hope you're already linked with palliative care. There's some amazing people. Take it literally 1 second at a time, then 1 minute, then an hour, then a day. I was taking it an hour at a time for months after she died, and I still sometimes go day by day. If you can get grief counseling, go ASAP. I did phone sessions, can give you more info if we're in Australia. I mainly used my sessions to just talk about my sister, to tell stories and remember her, to have someone new know her, sending you love and light. This comment means a lot to me. Thank you. I'm sorry for what you've been through. Our medical team has been incredible, even dealing with my emotions with a lot of patience. I just wish this wasn't the path we had to take. Commenter. Grief has different stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. You are in the anger stage, totally justified after the things you went through before diagnosis. You are angry because you are being robbed of the future together with your husband. Also, you know it's a hard road ahead that you didn't think would happen until you were both old and gray. I don't have advice for you, and I am so sorry you're going through this. Your feelings are normal and valid if that helps a tiny bit. Maybe speaking to a professional may help you also. Am I the idiot for solving the escape room and making my boss look incompetent? So last week, my boss, male 42, organized a mandatory team-building exercise for our department at an escape room. I, female 29, love puzzles and escape rooms. I've done like 20 of them, and I'm really good at them. The thing is, my boss is kind of the control freak type who loves being the smartest person in the room. At the start, he made it clear he was leading the escape room and told us to follow his instructions. Fine. But the thing is, he wasn't exactly great at it. He kept overthinking the clues and barking out bad ideas that were going nowhere. Meanwhile, I had already mentally solved half the puzzles but kept quiet because I didn't want to be that person who takes over. About 15 minutes in, the rest of the team was getting visibly frustrated. People were just standing around while my boss argued with himself over a clue I'd already figured out. So I casually solved a few puzzles and unlocked a door while he was rambling. He immediately got annoyed and said I was ruining the team experience and needed to let others contribute. At that point, I backed off, but the team kept stalling and we were running out of time. Finally, with only 10 minutes left, I couldn't take it anymore and solved the last major puzzle, opening the exit door. We beat the room, but barely. Everyone cheered except for my boss, who was clearly upset. He muttered something about how the point was to work together and not show off. Later that day, he pulled me aside and said I'd ruined the team-building experience by not letting the group figure things out on their own. I told him I was just trying to help because we were falling behind, but he accused me of undermining him in front of the team. Now my coworkers are saying I did nothing wrong, and we would have failed if I hadn't stepped in, but my boss is still giving me the cold shoulder, and it's making things awkward at work. Am I the idiot for solving the escape room too quickly and stepping on my boss's toes? Should I have let us fail to spare his ego? Now for a few comments. Binny69 said, NTA, your boss is a weenie. Raven added, I hate to say it, but your boss sounds like the guy who will hold a grudge. You should document this and all other interactions with him, and anything that pertains to raises, promotions, and anything else that may come from the fallout of this. Depending on the culture where you work, it might even be worth having it documented with HR. Maybe not as a complaint, but as a record of it. Small update. Thanks for the many reactions and advice you guys gave me. I wanted to give you all an update on the situation with my boss, who is the head of our department. Things have definitely become more uncomfortable. Since the escape room incident, he's been quite hostile towards me today. It's subtle but noticeable. He's been cutting me off in a meeting today, refusing to acknowledge my contributions, and even giving me side tasks that seem beneath my role. What's even more concerning is that some of his comments have taken on a, I think, sexist tone. For example, during a meeting, I suggested a solution for an ongoing project, and he responded with, let's have someone with more experience handle it. You wouldn't want to get your head wrapped around something too complex. He said it in a patronizing tone, making it clear he thinks I'm not capable. On another occasion, he joked that I probably only solved the escape rooms so quickly because I like puzzles as a girly hobby. It's becoming clear that this isn't just about the escape room. His behavior is getting more problematic. His behavior seems to reflect deeper issues, possibly with how he views women in the workplace. I'm seriously considering reporting him to HR, but I want to make sure I document everything first, like you guys suggested. I don't want to quit my job right away because my boss decided to bully me. If I leave, I also leave my coworkers with this crazy behavior without speaking up myself. I appreciate all the advice you gave in my original post. It's helped me see the situation for what it really is. Final update, thanks to everyone who offered their support and advice. I wanted to share how things have unfolded since my last post. The situation with my boss has escalated further, and it's becoming impossible to ignore. After documenting everything and gathering evidence, I decided it was time to take action. I started to sort out my so-called evidence, so I would be providing them with detailed notes on the incidents and examples of the sexist and undermining behavior I've experienced. It turns out, I wasn't the only one having issues with him. Another colleague, who had been dealing with similar frustrations since the escape room incident, had already filed a complaint with HR. Before I could schedule a meeting with HR myself, they actually reached out to me for a conversation. Apparently, HR had been investigating my colleague's complaint and was in the process of gathering more information when they received my documentation. It was clear that both of our experiences painted a troubling picture of my boss's behavior, particularly towards women. As a result, HR has taken the situation seriously, and my boss has been temporarily suspended while the investigation continues. Even though I hadn't planned for things to move this quickly, I'm relieved that steps are being taken to address the issue. The office atmosphere has already improved noticeably, and while it's unfortunate that it took this much to make a change, I feel validated knowing that speaking up was the right choice. This experience has taught me the importance of standing up for myself, even when it's daunting. Thank you all again for your advice and support.